Why do I sabotage my life when things start to go well? I'll tell you exactly why. Start here. We've got two different parts of our brain, one being the conscious, the other one is the subconscious. The conscious has a lot more to do with intention. We're trying to do the thing, we're thinking about it consciously, logically, and then we act. We want to make that thing happen. The subconscious happens much more automatically. We don't really have to think about it. It's not logical, it's often much more emotional. The subconscious is really designed to do one thing, and that is survive. But the problem is that the definition of survival to the subconscious looks a lot like consistency, or we could also say homeostasis. Homeostasis being that term that you learned in science class in like 9th grade that basically says that the body and the brain are trying to maintain a baseline. If you get too cold, they're gonna warm you up. If you get too hot, they're gonna cool you down. This creates something of an emotional, mental comfort zone. But the problem is, it's not always that comfortable. It's just familiar. We've got this familiar zone in our life, and our body basically thinks that its job is to maintain the familiar in order to survive. And so when we set goals that push us out of our comfort zone, sometimes it can feel kind of dangerous to the subconscious. It says, what on earth are we doing? This is not safe. This is beyond what I'm familiar with. We know the phrase, the devil that I know is better than the devil that I don't. And that comes simply because the brain says, I experienced a thing, it didn't kill me, and that means I would rather experience the same thing because I already know it's not gonna kill me than experience something else because I don't know if that something else is safe or if that's dangerous or if it's gonna kill me. The simplest answer as to why we sabotage things when they're going well is because the brain thinks it's not safe to experience something outside of that comfort zone. And it knows what's safe because let's say we've got this little timeline right here, and this is when you're born, and this is when you are however old you are right now. You go through your entire life experiencing, we could call these micro and macro traumas. These establish the patterns of your life. So the brain looks backwards and says, okay, because I know what happened in the past, now I know what I should be able to expect in the future. So let's say you have this pattern of bad relationship. Your brain notices that I have a bad relationship every so often, then it's going to predict having a bad relationship every so often. And so if things start to improve and you start doing better, often the brain will say, this has nothing to do with me. This is uncomfortable. I don't actually like this because I'm not familiar with it. Let's say you're used to bad finances and then you start to actually make some money. The brain will often look at the financial situation and say, this is different than what I expected. This is different than what I predicted based on my little timeline here. We want to thrive. The brain just wants to not die. And that's a big gap. That's a big difference. Let's say it like this. Let's say the mountains represent the goal or the vision that you might have for your life. Let's say you're down here and standing in between where you currently are and where you'd like to be are some barriers. We're going to call these barriers limiting beliefs. We tend to get our limiting beliefs based on the past. We've lived a certain experience and the brain says, okay, look, I know exactly what life is supposed to be. I know exactly how life is supposed to go. And we develop limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs when it comes to relationships could be something like, I don't deserve love. People treat me poorly. Everybody is the same. All women cheat. All men cheat. And so we've got these limiting beliefs. And let's say you're like, I want to have a better relationship. And that's the goal. That's the vision. But you have this belief that says, everyone treats me bad. Let's say you start making some actual progress in the direction of your goal and your vision of having a happy, healthy relationship. Your brain is going to get to this first limiting belief and it's going to turn itself right around because it's trying to stay safe. I had this actually happen to a client of mine once where she was in an abusive situation growing up where her father and her brother were pretty rough on her. When she graduated high school, she was like, I'm out of here. I'm done. I'm sick of this. I don't like the way you guys treat me. I'm moving. And so she goes to college and she's craving some of that male affection because she never had it growing up. And so she goes and she's looking for a boyfriend. And what kind of boyfriend do you think she finds? One that matches the energy of her father and her brother. These are the males who are supposed to have loved her whole life. And so she gets into this relationship and then he is also abusive because he matches the energy of her dad. And then she goes into another relationship and another relationship. And by the time she started working with me, she had been through probably like 5 or 6 different bad relationships, physically abusive relationships. And so she developed this limiting belief based on her past timeline that says, all men treat me the same. All men are the same. Every guy is the same. They're all like this. I don't like it, but that's just the way it is. There's this part of the brain called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is basically a filter for relevance. It's a filter for what is important to you and has something to do with you in your life. If you look for a red car, you're gonna find a red car. You're gonna see the red cars. If you look for a certain thing, you're gonna find it. And our brain does the exact same thing with relationships. And so let's say she had like so many people in her life that she probably could have dated. She's over here and she kind of filters through all these people saying, nope, not really feeling it. No, I don't really like him. Oh, that guy looks amazing. And she would date the guy who matches the energy that she doesn't want. Because the brain says, I'm just trying to survive. The familiar is the most important key piece here. Your brain doesn't know what's right or wrong. It just knows what we focus on. When she started working with me, I remember that she broke up with the guy that she'd been dating for a while, and she started making some real progress. I was really, really proud of her. She starts dating this guy. He's actually a really good dude. Every time she came to talk to me, everything was a green flag. Everything that she said was like, this is actually a really positive thing. But she said it like she hated it. She was like, I hate that he does this. Why does he do this? Why is he even a man? Is he strong? Like what? And she started to provoke this great guy, probably to try to make him fit the energy that she was used to, that she was familiar with. And so the biggest goal here is, number one, we need to heal from some of the past traumas and negative events that have given you the limiting beliefs. Number two, we need to heal the limiting beliefs. And number three, we want to train the part of your brain that is looking to try to maintain what's relevant. We want to get rid of the thing that is saying, I want my past and my future to look similar. The future doesn't have to look like the past looked. You're allowed to have a future that is vastly different and vastly better than your past. But your brain is going to sit there and try and convince you that because your past wasn't great, then your future is not allowed to be very great. And that's just not true. Anyway, so I hope that made sense. That's, in short, that is the process of self-sabotage, where people are trying to make progress that forces them outside of their comfort zones, so they go back to their comfort zone because that's what feels safe, and that way you're not triggering any alarm bells or any anxiety or anything that your brain is using as a defense mechanism to try and keep you in the familiar.